I'm Jan Korteman, and I'm a member of WILPF here in Des Moines, Iowa. And our branch has been working for peace in our community since the 60s, and I'm so proud to be part of that work. But I'm here today because I want to talk to you about WILPF's programs at the United Nations, our Commission on the Status of Women programs. In 1948, shortly after World War II, WILPF became one of the first non-governmental organizations and the first women's peace organization to have consultative status at the UN. And that gives us access to all of the UN bodies that are open to NGOs. So that means the General Assembly, that means the Human Rights Council, which are important for our work. And we believe that the UN and our consultative status is there, it's essential for our advocacy work. So one of the ways we amplify that work is by being present at the Commission on the Status of Women, which comes up every year. The Commission focuses on a specific topic every year. It's always related to gender equality, and it's known as the priority theme. And this year it was an extra important to us as WILPF members because it marked the anniversary of the Fourth World Conference for Women and the adoption of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action back in 1995. We had two great organizations as our sponsors. Food and Water Watch, which focuses on corporate and government accountability related to food and water and corporate overreach. They were one of our sponsors. And the other one was the Iowa Alliance for Responsible Ag. And the Alliance advocates for responsible and respectful land stewardship and livestock production. They were our second sponsor.
I'm Kim Poole from Baltimore. I'm based in North Carolina, and I am the daughter of Jacqueline Kaiser and Naaman Poole. I'm the granddaughter of Mary McClary and Dorothy Pettaway. And I come from a long line of freedom fighters, artivists, growers, and healers. And it's a pleasure to be with you here tonight. I've been to the UNCSW several times to host events that are focused on the voice of the global African woman, one that's normally divided, women on the continent and those that are living in the diaspora. I've been helping to host those events with my sisterhood, the Global African Sheroes Union, since 2019. And this was the first time that I had a chance, an opportunity to go and really just participate and not be a convener, not have to host or think about the logistics of where people are going to stay and how they're going to get around and navigate in New York City, and how expensive it is because, you know, it's one of the most expensive cities in the world. Being a part of the Local to Global program was the first time I actually got a chance to come and just be. If I wanted to promote to them the experience of the UNCSW, I would say go ready with your map of the world. If your geography, if you need to brush up on that, definitely do it before you come, or bring your map with you, bring your Google Translate with you, because it's really your opportunity to go to one city and meet the entire world, because literally women from around the world are coming, and the best of women from around the world, the creme de la creme of women are coming to advocate, those that don't need a background check, those that you can already, for the most part, say are there with the right heart and the right energy and ready to connect, came with connection in mind, that part. So I would tell them, come with a map, come with Google Translate, and be ready to connect with women around the world. If I had to promote it, as if they didn't know anything about the United Nations or the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women, I would say this is your opportunity to learn by doing. So often you have to read about these institutions that affect the days of our lives from the outside looking in. You see these UN briefs, you know, CNN, you know, you just see clips. This is just the news. But when you go to the UNCSW, you have the opportunity to shape policy, to be not just a spectator, but a part of the game. down on the ground floor, not on the benches, not on the sideline. You get a chance to play. And there aren't many opportunities in our geopolitical environment for regular grassroots women to do that. And so if you want to get in the game, this is a great way to start and go straight to the first string. If you're somebody that's interested in this program, but you're also interested in learning more about how WILF works, or the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom in general, this is the best way to see it from a macro level, because you get a chance to see where WILF International sits and how that relates to the United Nations and how that relates to WILF USA and the influence they have with other organizations that are part of the same ecosystem. It's really an opportunity to kind of see the players on the board and what they do and how they work, for better or for worse. But I think every WILFer should get that kind of just deep root knowledge about an organization that they're a part of. It just doesn't make sense any other way. And so I hope everybody gets a chance to do it at least once. Bed. It's really late in Ghana. I'm in pajamas, but that's okay. All for WILF. Let's go. Let's get it. Yeah. So Miss Teresa Elamine, she's a WILFer in her 70s or 80s. She came to one of my events and heard me speak. And afterwards, she said, "You spoke about UNCSW. Well, our organization goes to UNCSW." And I said, "Great. When is your side event? Let me know." And she said, "I can't tell you unless you join." And I said, "But I don't want to join. I just want to know about your side event." And she said, "Well, it's only $35. And I said, "Okay, I'll pay the $35, and the rest is history." Now I've gained a whole new network of women around the world that have the right idea and are actually trying to work towards, living up to what they believe. And so thank you, Miss Teresa. Some people only get one job. Teresa. And so if your job was to bring me into WILF, that was a good job. Job well done. Thank you.
I was delighted to be able to be part of it. It was a wonderful opportunity for me. I love being in that environment. It's very heady to be surrounded by people from all over the world. And I'm obviously mostly women, but not exclusively, who really have a passion for social justice. And while the primary focus is on women's rights and gender equality, it has a lot to do with peace building, has a lot to do with social justice. And to meet people from all over the world who are passionate about this is incredible to me, and to hear it from different perspectives. Heard women from Japan speaking who wanted to close US military bases. I heard women from Korea speaking. I heard women from Africa talking about the environment. I heard many people talking about peace and justice, and an end to the suffering for people in Gaza. It was very incredible. It is from a very much a feminist perspective. So the emphasis on cooperation, the emphasis on what are we teaching children, the question about how do we engage men as equal partners, how do we do things in a sustainable way for the planet, how do we address wounds, violence against women. What is the future in terms of a healthy environment, education, sharing resources? It's different than the individual achievement model. It's a counter to that.
I think the data, wherever you look at the data, it always shows that women are oriented to peace, that peace is important to them, and that when they're part of, or half of, or more than half of the delegation, we got a better chance of creating a peaceful solution. So that's so important these days. The UN is kind of the place where it could happen. 193 countries, we need to be present to do what we can to move women's issues forward.
This was my first CSW experience. As a member for only 2 years with the DMV branch in Washington, I found the CSW a bit overwhelming. So many events, information, and knowledge coming from women all over the world. So I did stumble on a parallel event that was held, of all places, at the People's Forum. The event was Young Feminists from SWANA, United for Liberation. These young revolutionaries were impressive and inspiring. What an opportunity to hear speakers from Tunisia, Sudan, Lebanon, and Palestine. That was really incredible. So I think if I am allowed to go again, that I would be in a better position to learn more and make more contacts. Would definitely recommend attending if possible.
I was sitting at a table with a woman from Togo, and Eileen, who is another WILF member who is always very forthcoming, was quizzing her about water. And I learned a whole lot, because water is something, and access to water and the Sustainable Development Goals are all something that are very interesting to me. So I would say that was one of the most impactful. There's this great solidarity among women that is really admirable. And, I just gave me a much broader perspective. So I would encourage, for that same reason, for other women or men to attend.
I would say it's a wonderful opportunity to learn about how the UN works, to actually attend official meetings within the UN. I found the side events to be edgier. I also came away with a deep respect for the UN as an institution with a mission to promote peace internationally. And like any institution, it doesn't necessarily fully live up to its mission, but aspirationally, that's what it is. Be in these huge conference rooms where you pick up your earpiece and you pick which language you want to hear the interpretation in, and hear and observe diplomacy in action, where different people from different countries speak, to observe that process. Because I think a lot of us feel like we promote peace, but we're not actually necessarily always living or acting in a way that promotes it. And that's one, global example of how this is trying to achieve this. WILF somewhat subsidizes our participation, was really wonderful, helping with lodging and meals and transportation. So that was really terrific. For me, it's just a really phenomenal learning opportunity. People coming from areas with less resources or more repression are still pushing ahead. And I think in the time that we're in right now in the US with repression, that we can, that women there, for me, were role models.
I had there's a great song by, gosh, I'm not thinking of his name, but it's Put a Woman in Charge, Keb Mo. Yeah, I'm curious to know more about how we can implement and apply pressure with the consultative status. But another thing is the statistics regarding having women at the table shows so much more inclination towards reaching peace with issues. Yeah.
It's the good we secure for ourselves is precarious and uncertain, is floating in midair until it is secured for all of us and incorporated into our common life. And that was in 1893. And she received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1931. So I use that on my May Day poster.
What it means for me to be a part of CSW during this anniversary year reminds me of the progress that has been made in women's rights and where we still need to go. It gives me perspective on, for example, the different ways that language influences us. Learning about different cultural perspectives on the word feminist reminds me not to take my viewpoint for granted. Having a chance to meet people from different parts of the world always grounds my perspective and helps me to think beyond my own borders. For me, spending time at CSW is like one big gumbo pot of networking. It reminds me of how the act of meeting someone and making connections means that there are certain people in your circle that were not there before. By forming relationships across boundaries, we are building our future connections for art, advocacy, and policy change. I'm going to encourage other WILF women to take the chance and go and be a part of CSW, because there is nothing like being in a space with thousands of other people who are there to say, we want to make the world better. We want to use this UN with all of its faults. We want to be in its walls. We want to see the UN Declaration of Human Rights on the wall and say, yes, this is something that we believe in. And it's so joyful to be in a room with other people to say, yeah, we're plugging along. We're making it happen.
Okay, yes, my name is Robin Lloyd. I live here in Burlington, Vermont. I'm a member of the Burlington WILF branch. At our gathering this March at the Commission on the Status of Women, the idea of feminist foreign policy was stressed, and I went to several workshops on that. And we brought it up in our workshop, which was looking back at the peace train, but incorporating all these ideas that had that Beijing had inspired, and the peace train had inspired, such as the Hague Appeal for Peace that took place in 1995, and the women, peace and security that was finally passed in the United States. I mean, all of this has to be looked at, of course, under the black cloud of the Trump administration and what's going to happen now. So we need to be vigilant and move forward and be feminists, bring the WILF feminist energy to the world. There is no other experience I'm aware of in the world where you can meet so many women from different countries and different issues and different concerns, not just what I think of as a feminist concern, but what they deal with in their society. And women are having a hard time around the world, and we need to share this information, publicize it, insist that we change it, and that women become respected as they should be around the world.